Hey, Jeff here, your YouTube reviewer of New England brews. Welcome to NEBR, New England Beer Reviews. Today from Stowe, Vermont, the Shed India Pale Ale. The Shed India Pale Ale comes in with an ABV of 6.0%. Now, when I started this review, I said that it comes from Stowe, Vermont, but that's not exactly correct. The Shed Brewery did exist in Stowe, Vermont for many years, but it closed in 2011 and was bought out by Otter Creek of Middlebury, Vermont. So now their beers are brewed by Otter Creek. So, but I think they must use the same recipes that made the Shed beers so good. A few weeks ago, I reviewed another Shed Ale. I was pleased to see it in a bottle. So I'm guessing that Otter Creek has decided to put these Shed beers out in a bottle for people to enjoy outside of Vermont. So that's what I'm going to be taking a look at today. The Shed IPA, as I already mentioned, comes in with an ABV of 6.0%. So, kind of a nice little label. I mean, it's like the last label, this sort of winter look with no leaves on the trees. It just reminds you of, winter in New England. And the cap is very similar. It's basically the same thing. You see trees with no leaves, and it kind of reminds you of, late fall and early winter, and maybe even the earliest days of spring just after the snow melts away. So let's check it out right now. And we'll pour it into this pint glass. Lots of smoke coming off that bottle. I don't talk about that much, but it was fairly noticeable to me just now. So here comes the pour. Alright, I'm serving it probably around 45 degrees, I'm guessing, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's fairly fresh. Oh, not quite, didn't get quite all of it out of there. Maybe I can just finish off the rest of it here. There we go. I don't see if there's any kind of date on here. I don't notice one at all. So anyway, let's put this over here so you can see it better. And let's take a look at the beer and check out the aromas and the taste and so on. Getting a pretty good amount of carbonation. There's a pretty good head on this. I didn't pour it very aggressively, so the head really seemed to build up pretty good. Kind of a copper color, slightly cloudy. Don't know whether that's fermentation or if it's just cloudiness due to refrigeration. But, the head is, a pretty good sized head. Fairly foamy, fairly silky, fairly, light looking head, and a lot of carbonation. Let's check out the aroma. A lot of floral hops on this one. And that's what I'm getting. I'm getting the real flowery hop sensation that accompanies some types of IPAs. Some IPAs, particularly the English ones, are much more subtle. This is probably an American IPA, but so the hop aroma really comes on strong. But it's very, very floral. I feel like I'm standing over a flower garden or something like that. That's the main thing I'm getting, but I'm getting, some light pale malts as well. But the floral aroma is really kind of up front and center. Let's check out the taste. Well, first of all, the body is medium. About medium. Slight acidity or astringency. Not kind of creamy, but not really smooth. Or maybe it's got this kind of creaminess to it. Taste-wise, though, you're really getting some very sweet flavors here, as well as the hoppy taste is coming on pretty strong as well. So the pale malts are a little more noticeable in the taste than they were on the nose, at least as far as I'm concerned. But really the hops are very, very floral, very, very vibrant. And it's not a it's not really a bitter beer. It's not, it's got some bitterness, moderate bitterness, and it lingers a little bit on the palate. But I gotta say, it's not really bitter like some IPAs can be, where they really make you pucker up and sort of like, wow, get those hops, And, I mean, obviously the hops are pretty predominant in this beer. And that really is the main thing you're getting. But, it's not really overwhelming in that regard. It's very flavorful, though. The hops are very interesting. The floral aroma that you get on the nose really plays out in the taste as well. It just brings out this kind of interesting sweetness that I can't quite define, but it's just a little different than many of the IPAs I've tasted. I mean, the hops are pretty much, the main thing, but there's just something a little different about this that gives it a little kind of nice, complex, sort of nice individual characteristic that is not as common in IPAs that I've had. But the bottom line, it's a pretty good beer. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's quite a likable and easy to drink beer. If you like IPAs, if you like the hops, then you're probably going to like this. If you like IPAs that are a little more subtle and kind of, laid back or mellow on the hops, then you might find this a bit too bitter. But if you're a hophead, I think you'll probably like this beer. It's a nice beer. I haven't had this one before. I'd had their other beers before at the brew pub back when they still were open. So this is the first time I've actually had their IPA. So I'm pretty impressed with it. I think they did a nice job with it. So that'll do it for today. This is the Shed Brewery India Pale Ale. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you again next time.